Joining us now, running for re-election, the Colonel. He's in a little bit of a battle here in Northern Virginia, but we are predicting that he is going to win. And let's see, what did I say? That the Republicans lose 3 seats. Scott Lingamfelter's not going to be one of them, but he's in a tough race. Colonel Lingamfelter, welcome back.
Good morning, John. How are you today?
Good. I've never been better. Now, you're in good shape to win your race right now. But the Democrats telling me that they're in play, they're telling me internal polling has you in real big trouble. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's amazing. The Democrats love to do these push polls. And for your listeners, John, I think most of them know what push polls are. You have a pretty educated listening audience. But, here's the deal. If you knew that John Smith were to pack a hand grenade in your son's lunchbox, are you less likely to vote for him? I mean, that's what a push poll does. And that's what they did to me. They basically went out and pushed all these silly lies, essentially, about me to try to, quote, get a result. And then after that, what they do is they craft advertisements that reinforce the negative image that they introduced during the phone call. So it's sort of a demented, and I think, frankly speaking, it's an unprofessional way to run a campaign. But here's the thing, John. I never worry about this, and here's why. The voters are smarter than some of the people that run for public office, and the voters see this stuff very clearly. And we're seeing it in our race. I have people call me and say, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in terms of a negative ad, run against me or whatever. But, Elizabeth Guzman has a lot of baggage, John. I mean, she's for sanctuary cities. She wants to do driver's licenses for people who are not legally present in the United States. She wants to increase spending by nearly $6 billion, basically bankrupt Virginia, as she's bankrupted herself. So she's carrying a lot of baggage, so she's attacking, and she's trying to make a big deal about it, and the Democrats are basically trying to reinforce those attacks against me. But I got news for them. They won't work.
Well, I don't think they are either, and you're running a very good race. I know you're covering your district. We're with Scott Lingamfelter, Republican House of Delegates member. Colonel, I've got one of my callers text us, and he wanted to know where you stand going into 2018 on cannabis, on medical marijuana being made more readily available in Virginia.
Well, John, in the last General Assembly, in a bipartisan way, we actually looked at this cannabis oil piece because there is some medical evidence that may help people in a very narrow band of medical condition. And so we, in Virginia anyway, we have decided to make that availability not a crime, so that people can, in fact, have access to this. I think the debate is still pretty robust. People are certainly looking at that. I have some skepticism, quite frankly, because John, I believe we need more physical science and less political science when we're making decisions like this. And so my concern is the movement to legalize marijuana. I think that is failing badly in Colorado. And so my concern is, as we go forward and looking at the medical marijuana piece, that we don't actually enable a situation where we might wind up like Colorado. I mean, I can tell you law enforcement out there is very concerned with the negative effects that have taken place. And I think these chickens are going to come home to roost in Colorado.
All right, so what you're saying is you're opposed to the legalization of marijuana, right, even in small amounts, but you're going to be open going into 2018 on some of the medical aspects of it, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think also decriminalization, John. I think there is a view that, we can probably look to do some things there. And I think, a couple of us, including myself, have looked at expungement for one-time violators. I mean, there's no reason for someone to carry something negative on their personal records for a lifetime that affects their jobs and everything else for a stupid mistake that they may have made. So believe me, there is, I think, a bipartisan view that we can certainly look at decriminalization for sure.
I agree with that. Scott Lingamfelter, your opponent in this delegate race, Ms. Guzman, she's running as one of the most liberals I've ever seen in any district in a House race.
Yeah.
And how is that resonating, you think, with some of the people in your district?
Well, I think it's going over like a lead balloon, frankly. I don't think it's going over very well at all. Look, there's a lot of latent denial on the part of the so-called resistance that's out there. They still can't get over the fact that Donald Trump won the election last year over Hillary Clinton. I don't think Hillary is able to get over it either. John, long walks in the woods ahead, I'm sure. But in any case, I do think there is this latent anger, and you're seeing it play out in the candidates that the Democrats have put forward. The truth is, the Democrats have put forward a slate of candidates that are out of the mainstream completely, even of Democrat thought. They represent an extreme agenda, a Bernie Sanders agenda. I mean, in my district, Bernie Sanders got 6% against Hillary Clinton when they ran their primary down here in the 31st district last year. So I guess what I would say to you is that their candidates, have not been well vetted by their own internal processes, but they're very extreme. They're very left-wing. But there's still a lot of anger out there, and I think that they have benefited from some of that anger. But I don't think most people in Prince William and Fauquier County that are going to go in to the polls on the 7th of November, John, are filled with anger. What they want is accountable government. They want responsible government. They want balanced budgets. They want us to look after families, small businesses, and constitutional governance. That's what I stand for. That's the mainstream conservative view here in my district, and I just don't think they're going to accept Elizabeth Guzman's far left-wing agenda.
Well, I don't either, but it's been an interesting candidate to run against because at least the issues between yourself and Ms. Guzman are so diverse and so stark, right? So it kind of makes it a little bit easier. So you're not really running on personalities and things of that nature.
Well, I think you're exactly right. I mean, just look at her position on felons. I mean, this whole business that Terry McAuliffe did, he pardoned he didn't pardon. He restored the rights of 206,000 felons. And, John, here's the thing. Even the Washington Post revealed that 132 of Virginia's worst sexual offenders who are criminally committed to a facility in Nottoway County were given their rights back. They're still in the hoot scam, and they're given their rights back. Well, Elizabeth Guzman is totally for that. That's so out of step with Virginia and Virginia's voters. It's so funny it would make a cat laugh.
It would even make my cat Sammy laugh, no question about that. Delegate Scott Lingamfelter, we're out of time. More information, go to scottforvirginia.com. That's scottforva.com, running for re-election in the 31st district that is in part of Prince William County, and that vote will take place with everybody else on November 7th.